What would you do if a simple traffic stop could change your life forever? Today, what started as just another ordinary afternoon turned into a nightmare, an unexpected encounter, an officer out of control, a woman who seemed like just another victim of a system filled with prejudice, until with one single move, everything flipped. A story of injustice, a story of courage, a story that will leave you breathless. And believe me, what you're about to see isn't just another story. It's a brutal reminder that sometimes the most powerful truth doesn't need to scream. It needs to endure. Stay until the very end, because what this woman did will forever change the way you see power, justice, and dignity. Are you ready? The truth begins now. It was an afternoon like any other, one of those days when everything feels calm, almost too calm. The sun lazily slid across the horizon, painting the sky in a muted orange, while the half-empty streets whispered a false sense of peace. She, a black woman exhausted after an endless day of work, had only one thought in her mind: getting home, feeling the hot water wash over her tired skin, hearing the soft laughter of her family echoing from the kitchen. Finally, breathing in peace. Her hands rested firmly on the steering wheel, her eyes fixed on the road ahead, her mind drifting through simple, comforting thoughts. There was no rush, no fear, only the longing to arrive, until the world shattered. A brutal flash of red and blue lights exploded in her rearview mirror. A metallic scream tore through the air like a knife from the patrol car's loudspeaker. "Pull over, now!" Her heart slammed violently against her chest. The air grew thick, unbearable. Her fingers, still steady, gripped the steering wheel tighter, as if that small act could anchor her to reality. I didn't do anything wrong, she thought. I haven't broken any law. Why are they stopping me? But sirens don't ask questions. Sirens command. Trapped in a scene she never chose, she obeyed. And then she saw him. The officer stepped out of his patrol car like a winter storm. White, tall, heavy steps that seemed to shake the ground. His hand dangerously close to his weapon. His eyes were not cautious. They were condemning. No kind word, no sign of respect. He ordered her to lower the window, his voice dripping with an authority that demanded no explanation. He looked at her the way one examines a hidden threat, as if he had already passed judgment before hearing a single word. And then the accusations began. Suspicious driving. You look nervous. What are you hiding? Every word, a sharpened blade. Every phrase, a bullet loaded with prejudice. He wasn't looking to protect. He wasn't looking to understand. He was looking for someone to blame. And in his mind, she was already guilty. Now stop for a second. Imagine you in that seat. You staring into the eyes of someone who doesn't see a person, but a threat. You facing a trial where you've already been sentenced. No defense, no evidence, no voice. How would you feel? What would you do? Would you stay silent? Would you speak up? Would you give in to fear or trust your inner strength? Tell me in the comments, because this story is just getting started. And if you think this encounter is already intense, trust me, the most shocking part is yet to come. Subscribe now, because in the next few minutes you'll witness how one unexpected act can change the course of an entire life. The officer was no longer the same. His face, once stern, had hardened even more, like a mask of barely contained rage. Every step he took radiated dangerous tension, every gesture a veiled threat. In a rough, commanding voice, he barked, "I'm going to search your car." It wasn't a request. It wasn't polite protocol. It was an order disguised as law, wrapped in a tone that left no room for dialogue, an abuse of power masquerading as duty. His eyes weren't searching for safety. They weren't trying to protect the community. They were hunting for an excuse, A tiny mistake, a speck of dust, an insignificant detail he could twist into a reason to punish her. And there she was, sitting there, exposed, but not broken. Because this woman was not just anyone. She was not someone who would crumble under the weight of unjust authority. She was not someone who would surrender her dignity out of fear. She knew who she was. She knew the rights that protected her. She knew that fear, even when real, even when paralyzing, could not guide her decisions. So she did something few dared to do in that moment. She spoke up. With a calmness that cut through the air like a blade, she began to recite her rights. Every word landed like a heavy blow. Every sentence, a wall the officer could not break down. She didn't yell. She didn't plead. She showed not a single crack in her firmness. And when the crucial moment came, looking him straight in the eyes, she declared, "I do not consent to the illegal search of my vehicle." It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a loud rebellion. It was an unshakable truth, as powerful as the silent roar of a brewing storm. That small act of bravery was like striking a match over a barrel of gunpowder. The officer's face flushed instantly. His jaw clenched tight. His hands, trembling with rage, tried to seize control of a situation slipping rapidly through his fingers. And then he exploded. "I'm going to arrest you," he roared, like a wounded animal, like a predator lashing out after being challenged. "You'll see what happens when you don't cooperate," he spat, moving aggressively toward her. Imagine it, the crushing weight of that threat, your heart pounding against your chest like a war drum, the blood freezing in your veins, knowing that at any second your life could be ripped away, without you having made a single mistake. What would you do? Would you freeze, letting fear take over? Would you speak up, risking even more? Or would you trust in the unbreakable strength of your truth? Tell me in the comments. Your opinion matters. Your voice matters. And remember, what happened next didn't just change that night. It changed forever who truly held the power on that road. Subscribe now, because in just a moment, everything this officer thought he controlled is about to come crashing down before his very eyes. And just when the tension seemed to reach its breaking point, when the very air became too heavy to breathe, she moved with an almost unreal calmness, as if fear itself couldn't touch her. Her hand went toward her bag, slowly, deliberately. Every movement measured, like the ticking of an hourglass about to run out. The officer tensed immediately. His hand brushed over his weapon, a primitive reflex, as if, deep down, he knew he was about to lose control. But she didn't flinch. She opened her bag, reached inside, and with the same relentless serenity of an oncoming storm, she pulled out a small black leather wallet. She opened it, and then the world stopped. A golden flash cut through the fading light of the evening, shining like a truth that could not be denied. A badge, not just any ID, not just some ordinary permit. An FBI badge, cold, engraved metal, gleaming like a divine judgment. Special agent, not just protected by the law. Part of it. The officer, the same one who just minutes before embodied arrogance, abuse, unchecked authority, collapsed. The pride once carved into his face shattered into a grotesque grimace of terror. The lips that had spit out threats now stammered out incoherent excuses. The hands that had trembled with rage now shook, empty and powerless. He tried to mumble about protocols, about misunderstandings, about just following orders. But it was too late, far too late. The theater he had staged, the fiction of authority built on prejudice, came crashing down in a silent, devastating collapse. She didn't have to scream. She didn't have to argue. She didn't have to fight. Her truth spoke for itself, a badge, an identity, a dignity that no one, absolutely no one, could ever take away from her. And in that moment, in that exact instant, the officer understood. He understood that the power he thought he held was never real, that justice isn't measured by the color of your skin, that truth, even when hidden, always finds a way to break through and burn everything down. Did you imagine this story would end like this? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your reaction. And remember, every story like this deserves to be told. Every truth like this deserves to be seen. Every voice that rises against injustice is an echo they can never silence. Subscribe now, because together we are stronger than any lie. This story leaves us with a lesson we can never afford to forget. Racism, abuse of power. They are not wounds of the past. They are living scars, hidden in silent corners, behind forced smiles, inside decisions that change destinies without a single scream being heard. But also, there are people like her, people who not only know their rights, but wear them like an invisible armor. People who, even when fear tries to paralyze their bodies, when injustice tries to crush them, stand tall, calm, strong, unbreakable. In the face of prejudice, they raised their dignity like a flag. In the face of abuse, they responded with truth as their only weapon. In the face of hatred disguised as authority, they showed who truly holds the power. Because sometimes, justice doesn't arrive with flashing sirens, or with shouts, or with revenge. Sometimes justice reveals itself in the quietest moment, when someone holds up a small golden badge, and an entire system of prejudice collapses before their courage. See you in the next chapter.